If you weren't struggling with your insides, if all of this magically had just cleared up in the process of living, what would you be doing differently? What would I see you doing?
I'd probably be living in a house with a husband and a family, maybe holding a higher position in my job, being happy.
Okay. So you'd be connecting with other people?
Yeah.
You'd have intimate relationships?
Yes.
Okay. So let's just picture like something that would be on the road that would take you in that direction. Like that, it might involve, as a very first step, things like what?
Dating.
Okay, dating. So I want you to sort of picture the possibility even that you're going to date, and I want you to, as you consider that possibility, to sort of notice what comes up in your body, what comes up in your mind. And why don't we just do this as a quick little exercise? Are you willing to do that?
Sure.
Okay, well, why don't you close your eyes? And I want you, just as we did before, to become aware again that you're sitting here in this chair where you've been sitting, exactly in the position that your body is in. And I want you to feel the chair and where it contacts you, and exactly the shape that it makes on your skin, almost like from the inside out, you're coloring it with a crayon. And see if you can become aware of the space that's behind your eyes. And now I want you to bring to mind a situation in which you're talking with somebody and it's clear this is heading in a direction in which this person may ask you to go out on a date. If you let it go, it might go in that direction. And I want you to see if you can notice what shows up in your body. Let's just start with a specific bodily sensation. So see if you can get in touch with that image. Have you got it? Okay, and then watch your body and tell me any one thing that shows up. If many things show up, just tell me one.
Rigidity.
Where do you feel it?
My arms, my legs.
Okay. So I want you to really focus on that rigid feeling that you have in your arms and your legs right now. Put everything else aside for just right now. And see if you can feel what it feels like to feel rigid. See if you can see exactly where in your body rigidity shows up when it shows up. Exactly where it begins and ends. Can you feel it? Mm-hmm. Okay, and then I want to ask you this question. Must this specific bodily sensation be your enemy? Is this something you must not have, cannot have? And if you see that, even if your mind is saying, I must not have it, see if you can open up your heart, open up a space in which it's possible for you to feel rigidity when you feel rigidity. Right here, right now. See if you can feel that. Would you leave your eyes closed? Is that possible? Must this be your enemy? If other things crowd in, let them. I'm not talking the thoughts now and the evaluations. Just stay with this bodily sensation. Just that. Is there anything harmful here in feeling your arms feel like that?
It's uncomfortable.
Okay, so thank your mind for that. And come back to the feeling itself. Are you big enough to feel that when you feel that?
I can feel it.
Okay, good. So I want you to see if you can, it would be like if a little kid came in that was all muddy and kind of disgusting looking, that you could still kind of welcome the little kid in, even if you didn't like what he looked like or if he was making a mess on your floor. In the same way, see if we can actually sort of bring in what it feels like to have your arms and legs feel like that. Okay, put that aside for a moment now. And see if you can find another specific bodily sensation that shows up in association with a thought that you might actually be asked out and maybe accept an invitation to go on a date.
My hands start shaking and sweating.
Okay, good. So put the other things aside, and I want you to really feel what it feels like to have shaky, sweaty hands. If evaluations crowd in, see if you can put them aside. We can get to that later. And actually feel what it feels like for your hands to be moist. And see if this is something that you really have to struggle with, or if in fact this is a feeling that you can have. Are you big enough to have that feeling? Is there room for you in it, inside you, to feel that?
For me, there is, I think. What about the person I'm talking to?
Okay, you can come out of the exercise now. Parentheses, quick thing out of roll. In the interest, I'm leaping ahead on things, so we'll see if I can repair this, because I am farther ahead from things that I don't have full ground to do, but we're back and roll. Go ahead.
Even if I can get to the point where you're suggesting that I'm okay with having these things going on in my body, what will this other person think? They see my hands shaking.
Okay, so let me just walk through that. So when you picture that, you think, but what are they going to think of me when they see me being like how I am when I'm with them? Yeah? Okay. So you have a thought about their thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's as if you have to deal with their thoughts, but actually we're dealing with you, and what we're dealing with is your thoughts. Okay, so tell me what the thought is about them.
That here's a person who is approaching me because they think I might be something that they're imagining, and then they come up and I'm shaking and...
Okay, and this is a fairly old thought, right? This is a typical thing. And people are going to think that you're... Incompetent, okay. People are going to think, I'm incompetent, or she's incompetent, is what people are thinking, okay? So what I want to do here is let's just see how much power there is actually in that thought, and whether or not it's possible to have that thought. But I'm going to start with something that is not that thought, and then we'll come up on it, just to make a point. I'm going to say a word and tell me what comes to mind. Okay, the word is milk. What comes to mind?
White.
What else?
Cow.
What else?
Cereal.
Okay, tell me what comes up in terms of, like, what are the qualities of it? What actually would you feel, sense, etc.?
Cold.
Cold, good.
Soft.
Okay. Can you taste it?
Yeah.
Kind of creamy?
Kind of creamy.
Okay. And yet, as far as I know, there's no milk in this room. But to some degree, we just had white, creamy, true? Did we not?
You can imagine it.
Okay, so now I'm going to ask you to do something, and I want you to watch what happens to white, cold, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Except, I don't want you to be the only one. I will do it with you. And since the rest of these eyes in the room are here with me, even though we're in therapy, I'm going to ask all of them to do it with us as well. What I want you to do is say the word milk out loud, and I'll say it with you rapidly, and then watch what happens. You with me? Willing to be silly? Okay, let's do it. Milk, 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 a little faster. Milk, 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 a little louder. Milk, 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 milk. Okay, good. What happened? What happened to the white, cold, creamy stuff?
I stopped thinking about it.
It was gone.
Yeah.
Right. Not just that, something else showed up, probably. Did you notice something?
I had problems saying it.
Okay. What else?
Well, I stopped thinking about
Okay.
the milk.
Did you notice the sound of it? Funny word, milk, milk, milk. Okay. See, normally in words, like right now, you can't hear the sound of my words. If you're in China, you could hear the sound of Chinese if you don't speak it. But right now, you hear what I'm saying, right? Because you've entered into that verbal world. When we repeated it, you left that verbal world, okay? So deep down inside, I'm not confident, competent, I am. If they could just see inside me, they wouldn't see a confident, competent person. They'd see if I went on a date and I started shaking and I had sweaty hands, they would see and they would think I'm
A loser.
milk, 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 milk. But no, look. Do you know where that loser stuff comes from?
I've thought about it.
Okay, so you have various thoughts about it. What are the numbers?
1, 2, 3.
Okay, my guess is somewhere, historically, we could figure it out. So what? Milk, 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 milk. Mary had a little lamb. Milk, 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 milk. I mean, what do you, look, let's just look. Okay, let's just do it. Suppose you're having the thought, they think I'm incompetent. Or, is that the right word? A failure? What was the word you used? I'm sorry.
A loser.
A loser. Let's just do it. Let's just say it. Let's just see what happens. All right? Let's just say loser. All right? Let's just say it out together fast and see what happens. Loser, 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 loser. This is what you're going to let ruin your life? I want to do something that'll show a pivot point here. I think what's happening here is you're entering into this verbal world of I'm a loser for whatever historical reason, okay? And I just want to see if it's possible for you, just like when we did that little exercise about feeling sweaty and so forth, if it's possible to have this thought as a thought. Like suppose okay, let's just try this. I've got a sheet of paper here. I am a loser. All right. I'm going to do two different things. Here's this thought, I'm a loser, all right? I want you to put your hand on this thing. Put it like that. Put it up like that. Keep it away from you. Now watch how much effort it takes to do this. All right? Set it down. And I want you just to sit here like this. See this? Now, don't do anything. Let's just see how much effort. This is what you're going to let ruin your life? You have to do something for it to ruin your life. I'd like you to do something for me. I'd like you to do is fold that up. Can you read the sentence? What does it say?
I am a loser.
Okay. So see if you can just sort of thank your mind for those string of words which you gave me, which I wrote down. And I want to ask you this. Would you be willing over the next week to carry that in your back pocket? Just carry it with you. And here's the question I want you to ask. How much power does it have over you unless you give it the power to direct where you go over the next week? I mean, are you big enough to carry that with you? Must this be your enemy? Mary had a little...
No.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I can try that.
Okay. Take it with you and we'll see how much power it had when you come back next week. Golly, the time is just brutal and we're kind of lurching through things. Let me say, I feel like I'm always giving a small sampler of things that I might do. But there are about 50 diffusion techniques that we've identified, a similar number of willingness exercises. You've seen just a couple sort of clumsily forced in so that you could see it. But I would spend a fair amount of time on that and with disentangling her from her own language and try to then go to what it is that she really wants to be about and see if it's possible for her to carry that through in the world of behavior with these things. Now, it'd take a while to sort of teach her the methods of doing that. I think I am going to take just 2 or 3 minutes on the values part because I think it's important. And then we'll just take questions, okay? There's a whole method for values clarification that's an important part of this. It humanizes what we're asking people to do. It dignifies what we're asking people to do. We're asking them as if, and I might use this in therapy, to walk from here to there and to have to go through a swamp to get there because it's the swamp of their own history. What dignifies it and makes it not navel watching or wallowing is that it's about something. So I'm going to go back and roll and just do something here. So Candace, it sounds like one of the areas where this is particularly painful is this area of relationships. And see if this isn't true. See if it isn't the case. That part of the pain that you've been feeling is not just the pain of the insecurity and the failure thoughts and so forth. It's that the clock is ticking and you're not living. Mm-hmm. You with me?
Yeah.
Okay. So I want to see if it's possible for you to connect with what is most deeply true about yourself, about what you really intend to have in your life, what you really value. And here's the thing I would like to ask you to do. I want you to think about, we're going to take intimate relationships. I want you to take a moment and just connect with what you want to be about in your intimate relationships. And what I mean by that would be if no one is looking, no one's going to giggle, no one's going to criticize. If you could have anything in this area, what would you have? Where would you be going? And especially what I'm asking are the things that can't be held like a thing, but are more like a direction. Like if you're walking west, no matter how far you go west, you can go more west, things like that. It's like, if I were to sort of, trace out a life, the direction you take is a critical part. Like you think of the people we know, like Mother Teresa. What's left behind, she's dead now, I guess, is what she stood for, what her values were, okay? Not what she owned or or the awards she was given or whatever, okay? So in that same sense, if you could be about anything in the area of intimate relationships, I want to know what you'd want to be about. And I'd actually ask you to do something. I'd ask you to stand up here and look me in the eye and tell me what it is. Don't say it until it's real. But ground rules are, no one's going to laugh, no one's going to giggle. I encourage you to go for it. If you weren't living your life in a box, in the area of intimate relationships, what would you be about?
In a relationship?
In the area of intimate relationships. Are you willing to do that?
Well, yeah.
Okay, now take a moment. I'm asking you to look at what's another level down here of what you really care about. And I'd like you to tell me very directly, just tell me what that is. And if you're willing to do it, I'd like you to stand up. Because literally, this is taking a stand. Look at me.
Freedom to be myself.
Okay.
That's who I am.
Very nice. Sit, have a seat. I want what we do together to be about that. You can have that. All right, we're out of roll and back to questions, but I mean, what dignifies it, the reason that we're asking people to confront their history, which means confronting your pain, confronting your memories, confronting your body and so forth, is not because we're wallowers or pain lovers, but because between here and there, and I don't know, this is role playing, but I sort of got that. I mean, it seemed real or something like that. There was something important there. And, you know, a person living in a box, if they can be about that, if I can help them be about that, frankly, I don't give a shit about all the DSM stuff. You know, I think this is what's the root of it, not the label that you put on it. And you can do that with your fear. You can do that with your failure chatter. I don't know if I've done a very effective job, but this is the job I've done. So let's take questions.
Relating to the exercise you did about I'm a loser.
Yes.
Can you comment on your theoretical ideas about the relationship between language and thought? Because that was my association when you did it, that you must have some theoretical knowledge. Yeah,
in fact, there's a whole book on it, and you can actually walk through it. It's not easy, but I mentioned that earlier. But indeed, you know, I think she's becoming entangled in the literal I'm a loser. And what I want her to do is I want to defuse that. And many techniques to do that. It's essentially kind of a walking meditation, mindfulness meditation. You could see a little bit of it in the things I did, of learning just to watch the chatter, just like you listen to a radio that's on in the background, and to not have to do anything about it. See, here's the problem she's in. If she has to deal with whether or not she's a loser literally, she has to start with all of her evaluated flaws and faults. This is a person who doesn't have confidence. She wants that. She thinks the way she's going to get it is by changing herself and her history and starting from somewhere other than where she is. But actually, and I did play a little etymological game with you earlier, but I'll do it here. Confidence comes from con, which means with. Fidence is the same root as the word faith or fidelity. It means being true to yourself. And our clients come in wanting to feel strong, comfort, and confident by not doing the strong and faithful thing, which is to start from where you are and to treat yourself with dignity and love. If you had to put a single word as to what ACT is about, it's about love. because it's a very harsh, unloving thing to slap yourself about the head and ears and try to start with, all the things that you're no good about, even though in the world of form, of course, we're always failing in some way. But she means it in a deeper way. I am a loser, not just I've done things that have lost. It's a being issue. So I want to diffuse that, and I think the language is the thought in a way. I mean, you can't think without language. You can think symbolically, but it requires language to do that, at least how humans do. And there's the whole book. I don't know if I've answered your question, but there's a whole book on it that walks through it. So I want to teach her to have the language without buying into the language. If I had a little more time, I'd do exercises that would teach her the difference between buying a thought and having a thought.